Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video, so it's not going to be really great, but I'm hoping that once I get everything figured out, the quality is going to get a lot better. So this is like an arts and crafts channel, but I'm also going to be doing some other stuff. For the first video, I thought I'd just like to give you guys a feel of what the majority of the channel is going to be. So I'm painting some stuff, and I have 3 things to paint. 2 of them are little boxes, and 1 of them is a sign. So here's the first thing. It's a little acorn box. And the second thing is like that is a pumpkin. And I have plans for both of those, so that's going to be fun. And the third one, I've actually already started. I gave it a base coat, but like no designs or anything yet, so you guys don't have to watch me give it a base coat. You can't read it, it's too big to read on the screen, but it says thankful. So yeah, I have 3 kind of fun, autumny, fallish, kind of Thanksgiving-like things to paint. And I'm hoping it's going to be a fun time, so let's get started. So I ended up starting with the coat of gesso, which is basically a primer for acrylic or oil paints, and the purpose of it is just to make the colors brighter and bolder and help the paint to stick better, which will make it last a longer time and stay prettier. So it's very useful. And once I was done with that, I could start on the colors. So I did rainbow because I really like rainbow, and I did it in sort of like a circular pattern to make it look like the light was actually coming from somewhere. It wasn't just flat. And then for the top, I did brown because I wanted some part of the acorn to look somewhat normal. So my brown isn't very good. It's kind of streaky, but if you do a lot of coats, it looks good. So I just went with that. And then I did another coat for both the rainbow part of the acorn and for the top of the acorn, the brown part. And then I went back to the rainbow and did the blending. And that took a really long time, but I think I like the way it turned out, even though it took a lot of paint and a lot of time. And then when I was done with that, I ended up adding a little dot of dark pink to the light pink and blending that in a little bit more. And then I did another coat for the top of the acorn, and did a few touch-ups along the edge there where the paint had gotten messy, and what I didn't like, the lines didn't look smooth as I wanted it to. So then it was time for shading, and the dark brown that I had made had completely dried up, as you can see. So I just ended up making a new one after I did one more coat of the brown because it was still looking kind of streaky. And then I used a technique that I believe is called stippling, but I just call it dotting because that's essentially what it is using dots for shading instead of the blending or block shading. I did do a little bit of that on the very top though, and then I just used some white paint to make the last few highlights and use that same white color to go around the base to make it look nice and clean. And then I had a ton of leftover paint. So for the sides of the box, I did light yellow, and for the back, I did light blue because I thought they went well with the overall theme of the acorn and made it look bright and cheerful and fun. Plus, I had a lot of leftover paint that I needed to find some way to use. And then I went over the base one more time, and after those last few touch-ups, the acorn was, it was pretty much done. So here's the final product. I'm really happy with the way it came out. I think it looks really nice, but now it's time to move on to the next one. So the second thing I was doing was the pumpkin box because it seemed the most similar to the acorn. So I just filmed myself doing the front side of the gesso because if I didn't, it would have taken a really long time. And so when that was done, I used just white paint for the basic pumpkin part because my idea was kind of wacky. And for the top, I just used a normal green color. And so my idea for the pumpkin was to basically do a different pattern for each segment of the pumpkin. So I did the bulkiest ones near the middle where there was the most space, and then the smaller ones near the ends where the segments weren't quite as big. The last 2 are stars and hearts, but they're kind of messy, so you can't really tell. It's kind of not very obvious, but that's okay. So when I was done with that, I had to go a second coat over every single shape that I'd drawn, and that took a really long time. And it was kind of boring and my hands started crapping, but that's okay. And when I was done with that, I ended up adding a little bit of orange to the white color and using that for shading. And then in the places where the darker white had overlapped with the shapes, I used a darker orange to make it look more finished and in sync, I guess. I'm bad with words, but that's okay. So then I went over the sides with white paint, even for the front, because I was just too lazy to actually do colors. And when I was done with that, I did the sides green and the back orange using the same sort of blocks style that I had for the acorn box to make it look more like a set. I and also because I had like way extra paint, like a lot that I needed to use. I ended up doing a second coat on the back, partly because it was streaky and partly because, like I said before, I had a lot of extra paint. I did the base white, same as the acorn, because like I said before, I wanted these to look like they were a set, and there, that one's done. So I really like the way it looks, and okay, so I guess we're moving on to the third one now. For this one, I wanted to sketch out my idea before I started, and it took me a little bit to get going, but once I did, it was pretty easy. And my idea for this was basically to make it look like a Thanksgiving type thing, so like pumpkins and pie and all that stuff, and I wanted it to look very warm and friendly, so when I started painting, I didn't use any cool colors, except if they were combined with a warm color, or they were a warm shade of that color. And the sketch took a long time, but eventually I did get it done. I kind of hated it though, but that was okay. I just started painting. I ended up using the same orange that I did for the last one because I still had a lot of paint left over from that, and I didn't want to waste it all. The drawing that I did for this was kind of repetitive, but that's okay because, that's not the point. It's not supposed to be like everything is different. It's just supposed to look nice. And like I said before, I tried to use all warm colors. Even though I did use some green, it was that warmer shade of green that I had used for the pumpkin box, so it didn't look like super out of place or anything. And let me tell you, it took a long time to paint every single object that I had drawn. And, oh, I guess I skipped forward there. Anyway, I got them all drawn and started doing second coats, and at this point, I was absolutely hating this. I just didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like how long it was taking, but I just kept going, and eventually I got to the point where I could start doing shading. And I used the same techniques that I did for the acorn box, which is stippling. I don't like that word. I say dotting. After I had done that, I still kind of hated it until I stepped back and took a look at it. And then I decided that I really liked it. You can see I did hide a pineapple in the back right on the end because I am absolutely obsessed with pineapples, as you will see in the coming videos. I will put one in almost every video that I do. So for the background, I just went over with like a really light pink. I was going to do white, but I thought that would look too cold, so I just added it with like I combined a little bit of light pink with it to make it look warmer. And okay, so that's everything that I did today. I'm really pleased with how it all came out. I think everything looks super cute, and I think all my designs are pretty original. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Quick announcement, I am selling custom painted items on my Etsy shop. Hopefully I can figure out how to put a link in the description so you guys can visit the site and see if there's anything you want. But if I can't, I will at least put the name of the shop in so that you guys can check out some of my stuff and get it if you want to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!